Hi, welcome to Project Geospatial. I'm Adam Simmons, and we're back again for another year of the GeoInt pregame show with GeoInt 2025 just around the corner in St. Louis, Missouri. And, and we have a full panel this time. So I say full panel. We almost have a full panel. We have three people. So back with me, my colleague and partner in crime with the GeoInt pregame show, Kevin Corbley. Thank you for returning, Kevin.
Great to be here.
And we have our star, Rachel Wilkins, who's a new author. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes. Published and best-selling author on Amazon.
Nice.
and go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and your involvement with the GeoInt Symposium, Rachel.
Yes, of course. I own my own company, Team of 7 Consulting. I work with event management, marketing, strategy, roadmap. I've been working in and out of the GEOINT geospatial community for about 4 or 5 years. And this is my second year running as a project strategist for Greater St. Louis, Inc. here in St. Louis.
That's awesome. No, thank you for the introductions. We'll get right into it. So Kevin, let's talk about GeoInt. Let's bring it up. Give us the details. It is starting Sunday, which is the 18th, and it runs through 22nd, I believe. I'm fuzzy on dates, and I should have this memorized by now.
Yeah, no, it's through Wednesday the 21st, actually.
21st.
Yep. And It's right there, downtown St. Louis in the Americas Center Convention Complex, I believe is the official name. It's in a great location right there in the middle of everything. And it's once again lining up to be a terrific show. And my part, for those of you who don't know, I have a contract with the U.S. Geospatial Intelligence Foundation to manage the press room on site at GeoInt. And I think this is my 8th doing that. However, today I'm speaking just as a longtime attendee, not as an official spokesperson for USGIF. So that's really important to mention.
No, thanks a lot, Kevin. No, we have a lot to, I think, look forward to in this show. And I'm just going to, talk about the elephant in the room. Obviously, conferences attendees around the country are low right now in terms of government and defense. And this one's may not be any different in that regard. But from what I know, the conference people who are going are enthusiastic about GeoInt, who are excited about it. And we are going to make the best of it. And if you're not going, I would argue that you're going to miss out, because I think there's going to be a lot to see and a lot to talk about. What does everybody think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, I just heard today that current registration numbers are on track to match the last time GeoInt was in St. Louis. So things are looking very good in terms of overall attendance. And exhibitors, by the way, I don't remember, maybe you do, Adam, how many exhibit booths there were last year. Last year was in Orlando, but I just looked at the numbers and it's getting close to 250. So it's
I believe if it goes over 260, I think so. 2024, 2023. I have actually a metric somewhere I'll bring up here on the side, but that was actually the record for attendance for GeoInt for exhibitors and attendees. And I'll bring that up on the side. But Rachel, what do you think about the conference buzz as I pull some of those stats up?
Yes, I think it is projecting to be a great outcome. I think we have been extremely excited here in St. Louis as an independent consultant, and then also working with Greater St. Louis, Inc. I think this is a great time to just keep supporting and spreading all this great news that we're going to have this opportunity right here in St. Louis, in the middle of the country, to invite all these geospatial companies. I think geospatial really needs a lot of exposure. Those that know about it. And I think it's really important to communicate out to the other communities, because it's one of those programs that's, it's not just a vertical, it's a horizontal in many of the businesses. So I think the more and more we expose our communities, the more traction and more business attraction and just more solutions we can solve with what happens with that technology to make the world a better place.
So I'm pulling up the metrics right here. So if you see a spreadsheet that I have up here right now, according to this, 2015, and keep in mind 2013 we technically had a sequestration year, and 2014 we hosted the 2013 GEOINT Asterisk. Right, that was basically 2013 moved to 14. It actually took place in early of 14. But 14 technically didn't quite count as a year on. It's weird how you kind of want to play around with that. But 2015, with everybody back after sequestration, was the biggest GEOINT on record. That was close to 5,500 people and almost 200 and almost 300 basically exhibitors, and that was advertised. And this is all data I got from open source from about a few hundred articles that were advertising what the numbers were, and they're very transparent. So that's what we're getting so far. And
where was that, Adam? Sorry,
that was actually in Washington D.C., which makes a lot of sense. And by the way, it looks like that, and I didn't realize this. I thought we hosted in Washington D.C. A number of times, but that was the only time it was hosted in Washington D.C., which actually says something about that. And a couple other metrics to realize is San Antonio was the place that GEOINT has actually been hosted the most. It's actually been hosted there 6 times. And it's got a pretty stable, usually attendance count of usually around 4,000 people. And actually between 4,000 and 4,500 is, we'll call it that stable attendance frame for GEOINT as a whole. So I played around with a lot of the metrics the last couple of years, keeping track of the conference. You can see the steady conference growth in this graph right here. And obviously the sequestration year puts a little bit of dip behind, but you can see that steady increase as we go. But it remains pretty stable for the most part, all the way through up until COVID, which hits a downturn, right? So we want to kind of keep a track of that. But for the most part, 4,000 is the stable number to kind of keep track of.
Great.
But exhibitors are exhibitors, not every year exhibitors are reported, but I would say the 2024 or last year we had about 244 reported exhibitors. But nothing has beat 2015 over in DC yet.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah,
no, absolutely.
Next year, 2026. Guess where GEOINT will be back to?
We're back in Denver,
back in Colorado. So it'll be a home game for me.
Yay!
And but that's at a Gaylord facility, which is beautiful. But anyway, back to St. Louis.
Back to St. Louis. St. Louis is just around the corner. What can we expect? So let's talk a little bit about that in terms of the event itself. Kevin, we're going to start with you. What can we expect from the event towards what you're aware of? We got some pretty interesting keynotes. We have some good talks coming up as well, and a really interesting theme, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to get the theme right this year. The theme is Building a Secure Tomorrow Together. Obviously security, cybersecurity especially, that's really been an underlying topic all along with GEOINT because it's so important. But things to expect. So one of the big keynotes this year is that the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, is going to be a keynote speaker. She is slated for Monday. Just there are a lot of great keynotes this year. There always are. And obviously attendees really want to hear from NGA itself. So Admiral Whitworth will be speaking on Wednesday. He's pretty much closing things out on Wednesday. But right before him is the gentleman who is who's in charge of Space Force, and General Saltzman, and so that's a big deal. So they're back to back. So those are going to be must see presentations, and I'm sure people are going to stay through Wednesday to hear them. So that's a big deal.
It's nice to bookend with the nice keynote, because people will stay through Wednesday.
Exactly. Yeah. Any conference that you go to, that last day, people start to trickle out, and I've experienced it as a speaker on the last day when there's like almost nobody left in the audience. But it's going to be good. And I'll say something that just for first timers, because I get this question all the time about what to expect from exhibitors who might want to interact with the media who will be there. The media at GEOINT, a little bit different from a lot of the other kind of geospatial trade shows. It's a lot of defense intelligence reporters, and they're interested in news. You know, what's happening now? What is your company doing to support the warfighter now? We've got hotspots around the world. So keep that in mind. That's the kind of thing. If you're an exhibitor and you're pitching ideas to the media, first of all, make sure you customize your pitch to each individual reporter. And if you're an exhibitor, you get a list of registered media from me every week. And make sure you don't just blast out a general pitch to all the reporters. Believe me, they do not like that. They have told me that personally. So keep that in mind. But it is a very impressive list of reporters who will be there in the press room. And I encourage anybody, again, press release, press kit you want to drop off in the press room. That'll be room 122, kind of diagonally across the hall from the main entrance to the exhibit hall. So feel free to drop those off and say hi to me, of course.
Rachel, what can we expect from St. Louis itself? Obviously, it's always buzzing around the St. Louis ecosystem when GEOINT comes into town, and the energy from not just the St. Louis Pavilion partners, but I know that Greater St. Louis Inc. usually makes it really interesting for visitors coming in town. What can people expect this year?
Yes. So this year we kept our booth the same for Greater St. Louis Inc. It's still the 20 by 40, but we had noticed in other cities that creating a pavilion atmosphere might be a great way to land this year in St. Louis. So Greater St. Louis has their booth and then surrounded by 10 other partners within the St. Louis region. We have partners, large partners like T. Carter and Omni Federal, but we also have smaller companies like G3, who's in their first and second year of building their industry. So it's a nice combination of small, medium, large companies within the booth that will be doing demonstrations, needing probably a press kit, doing different things to market themselves as they land here in St. Louis. One of the things we're featuring in our booth is Project Geospatial, where we will be having a little shout out to you, Adam. We'll be having probably 30 interviews that you're conducting.
Close to 40 now, actually.
Oh, really? Well, that changed in the last 2 hours.
Right. Well, yeah. Give me if you want to see me really, really tired, come find me on Wednesday as my volunteer staff will probably try waking me up between every single interview. Like, come on, poking me with the stick, wake up. So I'm usually pretty out by then.
The good news is I don't know if you're a coffee drinker, but one of the activations in our booth is going to be from T. Carter, and they're going to have a cappuccino bar. And so they'll have coffee, I think from 10 to 1 right outside their booth in the pavilion. So you might need some caffeine, and it'll be right next to where you're going to be doing your presentations.
That'll work out. Yeah, I'll probably have to live off of that by Wednesday.
But not to forget, we do have those awesome happy hours from 4 to 5 on Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, well, and isn't Greater St. Louis sponsoring an event too, a social event?
Yes. So we have within the exhibit from 4 to 5, we have what we call a traditional Mappy Hour that was started 3 or 4 years ago. And that we feature St. Louis signatures, the favorite things people love to have when they come to St. Louis that you can't make anywhere else, like toasted raviolis. We'll have Fitz's root beer, local Ted Drew's custard, gooey butter cake, and a few other things, local beers. But then that evening on Tuesday, we have another event that's open to every attendee from 6 to 9, and that will be at the Energizer Park, the soccer park. So if you haven't been to the soccer park yet, this is the chance to get there. You will need your admissions badge, though. You'll need your badges to get in for admission. But yeah, so there's 3 big events that will rally open attendance for anyone, and you're welcome to come. Eat joy and be merry. Have, eat, drink, and be merry. I guess that phrase is.
Well, and so Rachel, how far? It says on the list, it's Energizer Park is the name of the soccer. How far away is that from the convention center?
Oh, did we lose her? We get a frozen?
I think she froze up.
Oh, we froze up for a second there.
There we are. I think after running a half marathon down there, I think it's about a mile. But there are trolleys. So we have designated trolleys in a trolley route if you want to get picked up at the Pavilion Center. I'm not familiar with all the pickup locations, but we'll have more information about that. Of course, if you don't want to ride the trolley, you can park. There's street parking and local garage parking.
I lived there briefly for an apartments. I was literally right across the street from the soccer stadium. It wasn't too far. I would say it wasn't quite a mile. I want to say it was like a 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, and it's under a mile.
It's a good 20-minute walk. But if you wanted to do that, I would say take the shuttle. It'd probably be easier that way if you do, especially if you don't know the city. And that would be great. I actually want to say something about that. You all do Ted Drewes quite frequently, and that's awesome. But I want to note that a lot of people don't realize why Ted Drewes is a staple to St. Louis. And it's not that just it's a popular ice cream spot. I mean, you actually have dozens of popular ice cream parlors around St. Louis, nothing to do with Ted Drewes. But Ted Drewes, and this, I think you all in St. Louis take this for granted, is that Ted Drewes is actually on old Route 66 that runs straight through St. Louis. And people from a bunch of map geeks like us, old Route 66 goes through all the way from Chicago all the way to LA. And it is a popular spot. And there's a lot of historical markers along old Route 66 in St. Louis region. And Ted Drewes was one of those, I guess you can say, famous highway car stops decades ago. And it's still there. And so it's a historical landmark for that reason too. And I think it's worth noting, and people understand the historical significance of it for both history, but also for map geeks like myself. So
that's a great point.
Yeah.
That's a great point. There's a lot of reasons why people love Ted Drewes. It was also voted best custard in America. So there's a lot of different things that make Ted Drewes so special. But it's family owned, local business. And in the wintertime, they also sell Christmas trees, FYI.
Wow. Well, and so you should mention again for people, first timers, St. Louis has got great food, in my opinion. And so before we put you on the spot, I'm gonna say what my favorites are. Sugar Fire is just a block one way from the convention center. Don't make the mistake I made last time and go late, because they do run out of barbecue if it's a busy day. And then I like over under kind of a block the other way from the convention center, which is another very good spot. Gets pretty crowded though. Adam, you probably have a favorite too. What's your favorite?
I'm gonna be different, because obviously my experience for living there part-time for almost a year and visiting there quite frequently, I had a lot of probably stops that were non-traditional to even the locals, right? So I always found out little hubs that even the locals probably didn't realize. So I love a couple of different places, but I think so. First off, look, right next to the convention center, you get a lot of the same stuff. But my probably favorite restaurant next to the convention center is actually Sen Thai. It's a really great Thai restaurant right next to the convention center. Yep. That was always my go-to right next there. Now, if I was willing to travel outside the convention center, I actually have some like favorite little coffee spots. If I was willing to like travel to a coffee shop nearby, and one of them was near Forest Park. Or actually a little bit further. One of them was Benton Park Cafe, which is a little bit south of, let's say south of the city, but it's in the, I don't know the neighborhoods as much, but it's actually close to the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. But there's also another coffee shop next to the Botanical Gardens, actually. that I love. Where sadly enough, it's actually where I used to Patty Hagen used to live, who was director of the T-Rex before she passed away. Actually, last GEOINT, which literally
I
happened.
know. I was just thinking about that.
Yeah. So Hartford Coffee Shop was one of my favorites too, to go for breakfast, and that was just south of Tower Grove Park, which is right next to the Missouri Botanical Gardens. So I have a good spots. From a barbecues perspective, I like traveling a little bit on the outskirts of the city. They have some really, really good barbecue spots there, but obviously we're trying to keep folks in downtown and who don't have to travel too far. So I have a couple things I have probably quite a few others I can list out. But those are kind of my go-tos between the 2 coffee shops, a couple breakfast places, and Sentai. You also have the breakfast spot that's right next door as well, Rooster, but they're probably going to be crowded like crazy every couple mornings. So what do you think, Rachel? What's yours?
Oh no, those are all great places, and I actually used to work in the T-Rex building, so I've been to all of those locations to eat. And Sugar Fire is actually is a business started by a St. Louisian graduate here within the community, so that's a local business, but now also a chain, I believe. I was going to say, if you're in the mood for Italian, Katie's Pizza started here about 10, maybe 12 years ago, more west on the outside, and she just came to the St. Louis downtown region. She is in Ballpark Village, and she has great pizza. Every year she goes over to Italy and gets fresh ideas and fresh ingredients to add to her menu. There's 3 locations in total, but the one downtown could be a new one if you're in the mood for Italian and you're not interested in going to the Hill. But that's another food source where a lot of people like to head over to the Hill. There's a lot of great restaurants over there that are Italian. And that was our original founding of Italians that had come over to settle here in St. Louis. And their businesses are still thriving and their food is still amazing.
Wow. Nice.
And let's see, if you want a sandwich, Snarf's is actually great for sandwiches.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I've been there.
And they're downtown as well, and they deliver. Yep. So just a few things. That's a great, we should come up with a food list, like publish a food list.
So a couple of years ago, when I think it was 21, when it was first held in St. Louis, we actually had a little intro video. One of our at the time board members helped put together of like the top 5 or 6 spots in St. Louis or nearby the convention center you can go visit. And I know the Oyster Bar downtown was one of the hot spots.
Oh,
there.
Yes. Totally forgot about that. That's great.
It was a great video. I'd like re-airing it, but it probably could use some modernization. I need to do something like that again. But we should probably take some votes in terms of modernizing a little bit, see which restaurants would be the favorite of everybody, and do something with it. So
yeah, and we should also mention, because Rachel just mentioned the Ballpark Village, which it's Busch Stadium, right? Or did they rename it? Is it still?
So Busch Stadium is Busch Stadium, but Ballpark Village is where everyone goes if they don't have a ticket. So it's a restaurant eatery with big screens. Activities.
It's adjacent to the ballpark?
It's adjacent. It's across the street.
So the Sunday welcome reception is at the Ballpark Village. I just was on Google Maps. It's 0.6 miles from the convention center. It's hard to miss. It's like straight down.
Yeah.
What street is that? 7th or 4th or something like that? I don't know. But
yeah,
it's really easy to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's lots of parking.
Here's South Broadway, Clark, and Old Route 66. I guess they're saying that if you want to come in for the Ballpark Village, come in from Walnut Street, North Entrance. So it's right up in the north right here. But this is, we actually, I think it was 21, they held a big welcome reception there prior to.
Yeah.
Last year, the welcome reception, wasn't it a Kiner Plaza that we held the big welcome reception, or is that just I can't remember.
Kiner Plaza.
It was 2 years ago.
It was at the park. Yeah,
party at the park.
The arch, and they had
Plaza right there.
They had the food trucks. That was really good too.
Yeah.
So, so a lot of good stuff to expect, and obviously, we have quite a few other things other than those couple items. Not to say we have an unofficial party tracker, but we do have a party tracker. We're keeping track of quite a few events. I'm not going to publicize them all, but we obviously have the GEOINT welcome reception we just talked about. There's the party at the pitch, to which was talked about too. That's on Tuesday. The welcome reception's on Sunday night. And there's a couple other things in between. I'll just talk about some of the more open ones. I know the T-Rex has a couple events Monday night and Tuesday night as well, actually at the T-Rex after the convention closes. So that'll be worth checking out. And I have the specific names, but I don't feel like promoting specific companies right now. That's why I'm not talking about them. Sure. So and some of these are invite only. And I want to encourage everybody that if you hear that there is stuff going on, go explore the convention exhibit floor. That's how you really get those invites, and go find out those booths, go talk to people, and then you can kind of hunt them down. It's almost like a scavenger hunt for parties. So at that point, though, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of workshops going on. We expect to see a lot of good old friends like we do every year. I almost look like this event, for me at least. I'm sure just you feel the same way, Kevin. It's like a massive family reunion. Mm-hmm. So
it is.
Industry.
Yeah, it is. It'll be great to see so many people that I've worked with, I mean, for decades in some point. So yeah, good. But also to mention, you just brought up the point, there's going to be a lot of educational sessions, especially on Sunday, I believe. And various kinds of seminars, things like that, take part in that. But keep in mind that USGIF, which is the organization that puts on GEOINT, they do events, webinars, seminars, and other educational things throughout the year. They're located there in the DC area, and several of their things are local. And they also have working groups, like I'm involved in their working group in the Front Range here of Colorado, and it's called the FRAC. And we have, so far, some pretty nice events, good talks and good receptions. So GEOINT is obviously the premier event, but USGIF, if you want to get plugged into the community, there are things going on year round. So, check out the website. And again, I only work for USGIF 1 week a year, basically. But if you're not a member now, you really should be. So, consider joining at a corporate level.
Well, I also want to announce that, look, this is going to be an interesting conference. I'm glad USGF and Kevin, you've expressed that conference numbers should be at what we should have seen last year. But even if the confidence quite isn't there in terms of the government attendance, which, we will see. We truly won't know what the government attendance is until the days it happens. But I would actually say that, look, this might be the conference, regardless of the main theme, this might be the conference to focus on small business. If you look at the exhibit floor, there's a lot of small businesses that are in not just a small business center. There's a lot we've identified in the Carasoft Pavilion. There's a lot we've seen. We see actually right in the Greater St. Louis Pavilion, and partners as such, but also loosely associated. They're attending GEOINT. We have there's a lot of small businesses right next door within the T-Rex Innovation Center, as well as there's a number of people attending from the other startup communities. You have Arch Grants nearby that actually offers usually every year they put on a competition to bring companies out, and you could get up to $100,000 to move your company to St. Louis. Wow. As a way of bringing businesses into the St. Louis ecosystem. There's also the Tech SDL environment, which hosts numerous competitions throughout the year to encourage small businesses to do some really interesting things. So there's a lot of really interesting ways to get involved with the small business community, who has just as many technology and prospects that could work for not just the federal government, but state and local geospatial ecosystems that I think more that probably should be a lot of companies should refocus on thinking about as well, especially even beyond GEOINT, because I always think about what the next event is. You have the Esri UC coming up in July. And I'll say, not to mix kind of events here, but to me, that's the conference where I've never seen any. I've seen more state and local attendees at that conference than I've seen any other place, any other conference I've ever been to.
That's true.
But I think there's a hidden layer of demographic for small businesses at the GEOINT Symposium that's a lot more visible this year than I've seen in previous years.
Great. And let's not forget that GEOINT and USGIF do a great job with young people who are still students or young professionals. There is going to be a young professionals reception one night, and then there's is it the golden ticket program, Adam? That
it is a golden ticket program, and I'll put a special word out for it only because our my volunteer colleague Joe Calamari, who helps me, he's basically my partner in Project Geospatial for quite a few years now, since he was an intern with us, is decided to go the golden ticket route, and so he's not going to be under the Project Geospatial banner this year. So, but I hear they keep him on a very, very interesting schedule and a very tight schedule, and so hopefully he and the others have fun with that. But I know that they also mix them up with the YPG group as well. And they'll have some amazing networking events. And usually at those YPG groups, it's not just for young people. It's for folks who are veterans and experienced individuals in the industry to help mentor young business folks within the community too. And that should be very important to realize. It's not just for young folks. We need to spread our knowledge onto the younger generation so they become inspired to become a part of this and help grow it.
Yeah. And I just looked it up. Adam, the Young Professionals Networking Reception is Tuesday at 4 p.m. in the USGIF booth. So that'll be happening for the young professionals.
Yeah, that's great. I love your comment on mentoring, because that's what my book is about. Not to give a shameless self shout out. However, I do feel that is so incredibly important to share that information and knowledge about geospatial, and through mentorship, those in this career field that are there that shine a light on what they're doing really can speak to, sharing with others. Hey, if you don't see it, you don't know it exists, right? And so how do you get involved in this industry? We will have one part of our information that comes out talks about that workforce development. How do we build that workforce development? What are schools doing right now to get that geospatial information out there? So, kids can make a decision. Hey, I want to do this. I know what this means. I want to do this when I become an adult, as we all keep trying to figure ourselves out. But having a mentor is extremely important. And I think throughout the USGIF platform, curriculum, roadmap, it is all encompassing. We're working with students, we're working with professionals. I'm not sure there's a rock that's unturned for bringing in people to learn, grow, innovate, and network to just make our world a better place, as I keep saying. But I really feel like geospatial as that industry will solve a lot of those hard problems.
Well, speaking about shameless plug, Rachel, what does Greater St. Louis Inc. want from this event? I mean, you attend you as well, a part of the GSL group, attend every year, even if it's in a different city. What are you hoping to do to pull people in from the geospatial community?
Sure, as a person on contract with Greater St. Louis, I believe that they want to have great business attraction, bring companies here to land, expand, and build our community. One of the big aspects that I love working with them is because they like to collaborate. They like to bring in a variety of different business partners to do a variety of complex tasks here in St. Louis. Yes, we're focused on supporting NGA, but we're also focused on new entrepreneurs. And I think that's really neat, because that really allows for diversity here within St. Louis. And it just opens up that arm of business attraction to not just a particular style, but those that really want to innovate and make a difference.
Great.
Awesome. No, great. Well, I think we're going to start our wrapping up process. Kevin, is there anything we feel like we missed talking about in terms of the GEOINT Symposium? And Rachel, if you feel like we missed anything too, welcome to chime in. What do we? what we got? Did we think we covered everything, or I feel like we're missing something?
I think we covered it all. I mean, it's hard. It's such a big, all-encompassing conference with so many moving parts and so many aspects to it. Just as we've been discussing, folks, you got to show up, find out what it's all about. I mean, it's a lot to tell. You know what? Download the app. There's the app.
Download the app
off the GEOINT website. It's called, I don't know, Plan My Meeting or
in your show, I think.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you'll need it. You know, even though everything's kind of right there in this convention center, but it's really helpful to keep track of stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'd almost have to. If I could pick one kind of last comment, I'd almost want to rename the conference this year, "Navigating Towards an Uncertain Future." Right now, considering the times, but I'm looking forward to GEOINT. I love that we're still having it, for one thing, because it could have just been like sequestration year. It could have just been like COVID 2020, and it could have been delayed. And Denver could have been our next GEOINT, but it's still happening, and we still have quite a few attendants, and people are still committed, which is great. And I would think that in itself shows confidence in the geospatial ecosystem. And I'm looking forward to see what's going on in the coming days.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to give a plug for the exhibitor experience, because if you only have that ticket, you still can go to the lightning talks and the Vista Hub. And so you still can get inspired, and you can still sit in on sessions if you don't have that full symposium pass. And we have here for the St. Louis region, if you count Senator Schmidt, we have over 20 people speaking all across different spaces. So from lightning talks to keynote speakers, there are 20 people here in this region that will be having something to say positively about the geospatial community. So don't miss out. Get your ticket, download the app.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I think that's all we have for the GEOINT pregame show this year. So this is Adam Simmons here with Kevin Corbley and Rachel Wilkins. And you want to do a shameless plug for your websites. So we got Corbley Communications on, so that Kevin runs. And how about you, Rachel?
Team of 7 Consulting. You can just reach out to me on LinkedIn. It's teamof7.com, but you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's how I do most of my business traction. So.
And I'm Adam Simmons of Project Geospatial.org. And we will see everybody at GEOINT 2025 in St. Louis. And that is, once again, in the coming days, May 18th through the 21st. See, I got it right. So, and that's it, everybody. We'll talk to everybody next time.